7 months ago, the Pocatello City Council delivered a potentially devastating setback to the Grace Lutheran School and Church, but today that school and church is looking towards the future. At the time, it seemed like their plans for expansion would be on hold for a long time, but as our Phil Campbell reports, their plans have been resurrected.
For several years, the Ballard building sat empty. Grace Lutheran came up with a plan that would have started a chain of events in which the Roosevelt Academy would expand, a 3,000-seat event center would be built, and Grace Lutheran would finally be able to move forward with a much-needed expansion. This all hinged on the acquisition of the Ballard building. In the end, it was too good to be true, and emotions ran high as the standing room-only crowd received the news that the city was shutting down their plan once again. A few days later, the death knell was delivered as it was announced that ISU was purchasing the Ballard building. You might think this setback would harbor resentment and anger, but as Pastor Dinger has said from the very beginning, they've always wanted what is best for the community.
All along, even when the very first announcement was made that there's a buyer for the building and a business is going to come in, and that proved to be untrue, even then we said, if that's true, we'll be the first in line to cheer for that, because that's what we want. We want to see Pocatello succeed. But if the building is underutilized or stands vacant or is poorly used, then we had a better alternative that would have not only met our needs, but the needs of a number of other entities.
Grace Lutheran's goal is to consolidate all of their campuses into one central location, but in order to do that, they must liquidate some of their assets, and that includes the Early Childhood Education Center here on Pershing Avenue.
Well, part of that is we have to sell some assets just to put the pieces in place here that can allow the other developments to happen. You can't do a high school unless we're graduating a certain number of 8th graders. You can't have a high school unless you have a facility that is ready to compete for those because those are, we charge. You have to invest, you have to pay for that kind of tuition. And so you have to provide a facility and a program that is the finest that you can get.
Phase 1 of their plan will move forward with or without the sale of their education center on Pershing. This plan calls for a larger parking lot and new entry points to their property. Additional phases, including a regulation high school-sized gymnasium, an athletic field, and a new sanctuary, will be completed once funding is made available. The church has had some interest from buyers for their pad sites near Applebee's and their education center on Pershing Avenue. Reporting in Pocatello, Phil Campbell, KPVI News 6.
Work on Phase 1 is expected to start this spring.